episode, Destiny. The episode begins with Xena taking the most depressing trip down nostalgia lane. And Gabby, reasonably is like, Xena, you're a different person, everything's changed for you in your life now. If you really want to go down nostalgia lane, I'm gonna wait right here. No, you will be sidelined for the entire episode and I will cry. Because yes, Xena does go on her trip down Nostalgia Avenue, and it is as sucktastic as most of Xena's trips down Nostalgic Avenue tend to be. And when she finally comes running back, Gabby has been sidekick-napped. Yeah, basically Gabrielle has been kidnapped by some kind of offensive stereotypes, and there's this weird moment where they kind of think that Xena is their god. And rather than, going with this and taking a whole C-3PO route with it, Xena, kind of defaults to what she knows, which is kicking ass and taking names. And so she fights them off and she frees Gabrielle and all of the other people that had been kidnapped, and yet there's this one weird little blonde kid who kind of awkwardly wanders off on his own, and this blonde kid ends up being the reason that Xena gets thwacked in the head by this swinging log of death thing, and the kid runs off, and in her concussed state, Xena tries to communicate to Gabrielle that what she needs is to get the kid back, and Gabrielle is like, they're gone, like, they ain't around anymore. And so Xena kind of stammers out something about needing to get to Mount Nestor, I think it's Mount Nestor? Nestus! I just checked my notes, it's Nestus. I was so close. You see how much I try for you, Internet? I do, I try. And this is how Gabrielle is actually going to get sidelined in this episode, because Xena is going to be fading in and out of consciousness for the rest of the show, and Gabrielle is just going to be dragging her across Greece. And like every now and again, like maybe every 15 minutes, we check in on Gabrielle tugging Xena in a stretcher across Greece. And it sucks for Gabrielle, and that's kind of all there is to most of her story for this episode. This is what happens when you don't follow Xena down nostalgia lane! So as we enter into the Flashback'o'Rama that is going to kind of consume most of this episode, we meet Xena, but not like Warlord Xena. This is kind of like intermediate Xena. This is the Xena who has gone on a pillaging rampage, but a very specific and focused rampage, as pillaging rampages go. Because her focus is anybody who's against Amphipolis, Xena will fight them. There's probably a better way to say that, but I'm gonna move on. And she's all like, yo, if you don't like Amphipolis, I got armies, I got boats, I got torches, and I know how to use them. And then suddenly there is baby Carl Urban, and someone is taunting him with the salami, because what else are you gonna do with baby Carl Urban? I would taunt him with a salami. Which really sounds like a euphemism the more that I say it. And thus, we have baby Carl Urban as baby Julius Caesar, I guess. Xena figures out pretty quickly from what he's wearing that he's Roman and she can probably get a good ransom from him, so she drags him onto her boat and sets sail somewhere. I don't really know where she's going, presumably for more pillaging. But all too soon, she becomes aware of a stowaway on board her ship. And not just any stowaway, but a stowaway with mad pokey skills! And these mad pokey skills are used to great effect on Xena and like half her crew. I don't really know where she thought she was gonna go with the whole, boat thing, but I guess that's the problem that stowaways have had throughout the ages, and maybe she had an idea, I don't really know, but we're never really gonna know because she never actually speaks the same language as everybody else throughout the entirety of the episode, which is a lie. Okay, in the last couple of minutes she's speaking regular English, but we're gonna get there when we get there. Luckily, Caesar is able to speak her language, which apparently is Gaelic, okay, and, they communicate, and Xena's all, I promise not to kill you if you teach me your mad pokey skills. And by this point, Xena is more than a little intrigued by old JC. But honestly, I was a little more annoyed with him at this point, because he kind of just wouldn't shut up about his destiny. And I know it's like, Destiny! This is the title of the episode, so we have to talk about it a lot. But honestly, it got dull. But hey, you know what? It's not my show. It's Xena's show, and Xena is definitely in the camp of, ooh, talk destiny to me, baby. And Xena arranges to have some sort of tete-a-tete sexy time with Caesar at some point later in the afternoon, and then we have this amazing sequence, which is a shot of Xena in, like, fancy clothes, lounging on a tiger skin rug. And as soon as we have let that sink into our consciousness, we have a shot of broody, thoughtful Julius Caesar. And then, like, we have a reaction shot of tiger face, as in, like, the tiger rug. And it's really weird, and then, you know, there's fade to black sexy times with Caesar and Xena, and, you know, more power to you crazy kids. And all of this sexy time leads to Xena proposing an alliance between her and Caesar, because Xena's all like, hey, you know how you've got that whole destiny thing? Well, you know, I feel like I could be really good at conquering the world, so maybe we should join forces. But then Caesar has to go back to Rome, and he's all like, I promise I will find you, Xena. And I'm like, but what about the deal? Could we talk about the deal? Because we kind of just, like, skipped most of that conversation because of the fade to black sexy times, and it's a little strange at this point, but you know what? We'll roll with it. Because we are on to the most amazing montage in the history of awkward transitional montages. Because we have a woman singing in the background in some language, which I guess by the end of this we realize is Gaelic, because it turns out it is our pokey master singing all along, while we have shot after shot of, like, fish, boats, more fish, coral, orcas, Xena looking pensive. It's weird, okay? Now, eventually all of this is leading us to Xena meeting up again with Caesar, and she's all like, ooh, it's my man! And the pokey lady is kind of like, and Xena's all like, shut up, you don't know my man loves me, we're gonna take over the world. Now, Xena is expecting, you know, alliances and sexy times whenever she meets up with Caesar again, but alas, this is not the case. Because Caesar pulls a fast one and ends up, like, crucifying Xena and her entire crew on the side of the beach. As he explains, there was never an us, only Rome, and I am Rome. But luckily, Pokey Lady comes along to save Xena, although not the rest of the crew, which, awkward. And it turns out that Pokey Lady is taking Xena to the same healer that Xena has been directing Gabrielle to take her to, and then all of these things kind of start happening at once, and it's more than a little bit confusing. Because Caesar is all like, okay, Xena got free, well, if somebody doesn't want to get killed, somebody better go and kill her. And so we have Caesar's guys tracking Xena as Xena is being carried to safety by Pokey Lady, and eventually everybody arrives at the healer, and Xena, in, like, her weakened, broken-legged, I've been crucified this morning, but how are you state, has to fight off these people because they kind of storm in and kill the Pokey Lady, which is not cool! Not cool! So yeah, like, past Xena fights off Caesar's guys and kills them all, but not before, like, starting to get the Callisto-style crazy eye, and it's all, death is my business. I am now a new person. I shall just kill and destroy. Forget that whole Amphipolis-centered pillaging. Now I'm gonna kill you all. But intercut with all this is current Xena, who really does try to play the card of, you know, you should really just let me go. And I'm like, lady, you did not have Gabrielle drag you across half of Greece on a stretcher to play that card at the very end of this episode. The time for that was when you got smushed by the tree thing. Let's not do that again. But then I start to feel a little awkward because current Xena dies. Like, legit dies. Goes flying through the air in, like, a weirdo after-death sequence, where she's back on her crucifix and, like, flying into Hades in a sea of terrible CGI animation, and is visited by the Pokey Lady. And, you know, they have a really touching heart-to-heart where they can finally talk in the same language I told you I was gonna get there. But the upshot of all this is that Xena realizes that she has to go back because her destiny is not yet complete. Unfortunately, this is the end of the episode, so we don't actually know how she's going to accomplish this yet. But at the end of the day, like George Michael said, you gotta have faith.